In this lesson, we'll paint a dirt pass for our character in order to add some additional wear to certain areas. Alright, fantastic. So here we go. I've got a new group for dirt and a dirt layer inside there. So dirt's actually a pretty simple thing to paint. We just need to be aware of a couple things. What I like to do is come in and hit the K key and use a brush similar to maybe this guy right here. Seems like a nice dirty brush. If we want to, we could even add a little bit of spacing to that just to space those brush tips out a little bit more. But I'm also going to come in here and enable the flow and the alpha control for this, as well as the color control. So we'll go ahead and pick a couple of colors. Let's go ahead and see what we got. That one may work. Let's go ahead and pick maybe a little dingier brown for this one here. So we'll go with something like that. And let's check this other color. That may be a little bit saturated. Go with a little more red to it also. Let's go up a little bit. There we go. So that'll work for dirt. When it comes to dirt, I like to make sure that my edge masking is turned on because dirt will stretch, as will any texture when you're painting around lots of surfaces that vary in terms of curvature, like our character here does. So we got these nice tube-looking legs, for example, that a lot of dirt would obviously collect around the shoes and the ankle area. So if we come in here on this layer, we'll want to go ahead and make sure that we have something selected. So I'll just select the shell, or the patch rather, for the body, and we'll go ahead and start to paint some dirt. So I'm painting rather light right now, so I might even consider coming in and painting a little bit with the other color as well. Again, this is a good one to set your eraser to the exact same brush. So if we came in here with our eraser, configured it in a similar fashion, we'd be able to come in and erase away on some of these folds where maybe the dirt wouldn't be as thick because it's rubbed off. This may be something you also want to come in and begin to hide some of the geometry with as well. So now in terms of the dirt we're painting here, I'm going to actually add a little bit more yellow to that. Come in here. Let's turn off that color attribute. There we go. Now we're starting to get a little bit more yellowish dirt. If we over paint an area after we bake it down, again, keep in mind we can use the clear painting mode to kind of paint it away. But I'm just going to kind of do his ankle area here. Kind of cycling back and forth between my colors. Might even come in and hit the boot a little bit as well. Keeping in mind that we are using the edge masking, so we're trying to avoid having this texture stretch because we're painting really at a pretty low opacity in terms of the paint we're putting down. We don't want to put just a lot of dirt. We don't want it to look like he's walked through mud or something like that. We're just trying to basically add some additional wear to these pants. All right, that's looking pretty good. May need to come in and paint with the clear blend mode down here some. I feel like it may have gotten a little bit thick, so we can always come in, switch over to that, and we can start to kind of peel some of this dirt off of some of these areas where it may have rubbed free. So maybe in there a little bit, maybe in here. You see, I shrunk my brush down to a pretty small level. So again, dirt, especially if it's dried, is going to have a tendency to be able to be rubbed off in certain areas that make contact with other areas. So we'll come in here and bake that one down and switch back to our normal painting mode. And I'm just going to kind of work my way up. Now, as I get up his leg, I'm going to start to decrease the amount of dirt that I'm painting on. I feel like we don't just need an incredible amount of dirt up here kind of around his knees. Might just come in and paint a bit, just to start to make those look a little more worn in. So I think we're looking pretty good at this point. Let me go ahead and switch back to my paint tool, and I'm going to come in with a little more of a yellowish color. I'm trying to paint in with some yellowish colored dirt so we can start to match kind of that greenish tint that his pockets have. So I think that'll really make it start to blend in just a little bit more and make it feel a little bit more natural. So come in and paint in a little bit of dirt up here. And I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and you go into face selection mode. We'll select just that shell using Smart Select. There we go. And we'll just hide everything that's not visible, or everything that's not selected, rather. And just kind of painting and erasing, painting and erasing. All right, great. So that's looking pretty good. Pretty happy with that overall. Let's go ahead and show all. Now, again, we would need to carry that texture as much as possible, you know, around the rest of the denim areas just to make it look consistent. Now, again, I feel like I may have gone a little bit overboard up here. I may come in and peel that back a little bit with the clear painting mode. But let's go ahead and look at his shirts here for a moment. We can go ahead and, again, select the various shells that make up the shirts and hide everything else based on that selection. So we'll go ahead and deselect that. Looks like I got both those shells for his collar. All right, fantastic. So we'll hide the unselected. And let me just unselect this. Actually, I've got my through mode set for facing here. So we want to make sure and uncheck that, or we're going to be clicking right through geometry as we select it. There we go. And we'll go ahead and deselect this guy. Do that one more time. Fantastic. So the dirt, I think, could also appear here on the shirt as well. So I'm just going to come in here and kind of begin to paint in some of that dirt. Go ahead and layer some of that in. I'm going to go ahead and switch the colors up a bit. A little less saturated here. Seemed awful red once we got that dirt onto the whites in his shirt. Come in here and just kind of paint that in. Maybe raise the flow up a little bit on this guy. So I'm not painting just a ton of dirt. I'm painting just enough to where the shirt doesn't feel so new. So you can see here that kind of just bringing that in around kind of the lower portion of the shirt is making it feel a little bit more worn in. And you might want to also consider if this person's going to be moving in a way where some of this interior geometry might be showing, you might come in here and just run a little bit of dirt on there as well. The way this shirt is built, it does have a bit of an inner edge there. So if he's meant to wear it kind of unbuttoned, then, you know, if he was running or something like that, the edges of it may start to curl up. So depending on how he's animated. We might come up here and do a little bit kind of around the sleeves. Let me come over to my shader and just turn down some of this lighting a little bit. Maybe some of that ambient light. All right, fantastic. So really not just an incredibly challenging thing to paint dirt. In fact, it's kind of fun thinking about maybe the story behind this character and kind of what he might have been doing to get the dirt where you're putting it. So if he's maybe been laying down on his back in the middle of a parking lot, maybe he's got a pretty dirty back. If he's been sitting in a chair all day, maybe that old chair has rubbed some dirt off on his backside. So just kind of thinking about the character that you're painting and what kind of situation he might have been in order to get dirty. If he's a mechanic or something like that, some kind of a construction worker, then more than likely you're going to be painting a lot more dirt than this. So, but I think just kind of the dirt that we're putting on here, if I come in and show everything really quickly, you can see how that's really starting to add a little bit of character to this character. Well, so I tell you what, there's a few areas that I still want to work on with the dirt, and looking at the entire thing together, I think I want to put some dirt here on this shirt as well. Maybe peel some of that back here, kind of in those saturated areas that I started with. So I'll go ahead and work on that in between lessons a little bit, but when we come back in our next lesson, we're going to focus on creating a specular map for this character.